The trap in the void. The endless void of space was silent. Stars glittered like cold diamonds scattered across the Black Sea. And in that vast emptiness, one small human vessel drifted alone. The ship looked weak compared to the giants that had come to surround it. Massive alien warships, each bristling with weapons, hung in formation like wolves circling prey. Their hulls glowed with blue energy, their weapons aimed at the fragile vessel. From the bridge of the lead alien battleship, Grand Commander Xylar stood tall. His voice echoed through the comms, sharp and proud. "Human vessel, you are surrounded. There is no escape. Surrender now or be destroyed." His officers laughed, their reptilian faces twisted in mockery. They had waited for this moment. For years, the galaxy had whispered about humans, strange, dangerous creatures from a death world. But today, the mighty Armada would crush those whispers forever. Inside the human vessel, Captain Elias sat in his command chair, his face calm, his eyes steady. Around him, his crew whispered nervously. "We can't fight them, Captain. There are too many," one said. Another added, "Their weapons will tear us apart in seconds." But Elias did not move. He did not flinch. He looked at the great wall of alien warships outside the viewport. He breathed slowly, and then he spoke, his voice low but steady. "They think this is our end, but they have no idea what waits for them." The human vessel was old, its hull scarred. It looked like a relic, something that should not even fly. The aliens laughed when they saw it. But no one in the Armada noticed the faint pulse of red light deep inside the ship, a light that blinked slowly, like the heartbeat of some ancient beast. The comms came alive again with the alien commander's voice. "You humans always believe in miracles. But your story ends here. We will erase you from the stars, and no one will remember your world." The crew trembled. Some closed their eyes, but Elias leaned forward and gave a single order. "Hold position." The ship did not move, it did not fire. It simply waited. And in that silence, the aliens grew bolder. Their ships closed in tighter, their weapons charged brighter. They wanted to watch the humans beg before the end, on the alien bridge. Xylar smirked. "Look at them, too afraid to even run. They know their death is certain." His officers roared with laughter. Some even placed bets on how many seconds the human ship would last once the first volley was fired. But deep inside the human vessel, strange systems were awakening. Metal groaned, power surged. The pulse of red light grew stronger. The ship's old engines whispered with hidden strength. It was not the vessel the aliens thought it was. It was something else entirely. Elias watched the scanner as hundreds of enemy signals glowed around them. The Armada was so close he could almost feel their breath through the steel. Still, he did not panic. He spoke softly. "Let them believe we are helpless. Let them laugh a little longer." Outside, alien warships repositioned, forming a massive net of firepower. If the humans moved, they would be cut down instantly. If they stayed still, they would be erased in one combined strike. One alien officer turned to Xylar. "Commander, shall we begin?" Xylar raised his hand. "Not yet," he said with cruel delight. "First, let us play with them. Let us remind the galaxy how weak these humans truly are." The alien fleet began sending mocking messages across the channels. "Human captain, do you pray to your gods now? Do you regret leaving your pitiful world? Your bones will drift in the void, forgotten like dust." The crew clenched their fists, anger flashing in their eyes. But Elias only smiled faintly. "Let them speak. Their words will burn in their throats soon enough." The ship shuddered, systems humming louder. A secret power was building, something the aliens could not see, something they could not imagine. For now, the trap was set. The human vessel was the prey, the Armada was the hunter. But in the silent dark of space, the roles were about to change. The void grew colder. The stars seemed sharper, and in that moment a storm began to rise. Captain Elias closed his eyes for a brief second. He thought of Earth, of home. And when he opened them again, his voice was calm but final. "They think this is the end. But for them, it is only the beginning." The comms crackled again. Xylar's voice thundered. Enough games. Prepare to fire. Every alien weapon lit up across the void, hundreds of beams ready to unleash death. The human crew held their breath. The void itself seemed to hold still, and just before the first alien shot was fired, the pulse of red light inside the human vessel turned into a blazing glow, and disaster was about to strike. The first move, the Alien Armada hung in silence. Hundreds of warships glowed with deadly energy, weapons charged locked on the lone human vessel. The void itself seemed to wait for the first shot. Grand Commander Xylar stood at the center of his flagship, his eyes fixed on the human ship like a predator waiting for its prey to break. "Fire on my command," he ordered. His officers grinned with sharp teeth. For them, this was not war. This was slaughter. But then, something happened, something no one expected. One of the alien cruisers suddenly flickered. Its shields collapsed. Its engines sputtered. And then, without warning, the massive vessel drifted powerless in the void. The alien crew shouted in panic, "Systems failing. Reactor offline. Controls unresponsive." The mighty warship had turned into dead metal. Floating like junk in the middle of the formation, Xylar's smile vanished. "What is this? Report at once," he roared. But even before his officers could answer, a second warship trembled. Its lights dimmed, its weapon ports froze. Then another ship faltered, and another. One by one, alien ships began to lose power as if something was crawling through their systems. The human crew watched silently. On their screens, red signals flashed as alien ships fell into disarray. A young officer whispered, "Captain, their systems. They're shutting down one after another. We haven't even fired." Captain Elias leaned forward, his eyes calm but sharp. "They think they are the hunters, but they are already caught in the net." Inside the alien fleet, confusion turned to fear. Officers shouted, engineers tried to restore power, but nothing worked. It was as if an invisible hand was pulling their ships apart. Xylar slammed his claws against the console. "This is impossible. What trick is this?" His comms officer stammered, "Commander, it is the human vessel. It is sending something. We cannot block it." Indeed, faint signals were pulsing from the human ship, invisible waves rippling through the void. Alien technology, proud and advanced, was helpless against it. One by one, mighty ships went dark, powerless against the unseen force. The Alien Armada that had looked like an unbreakable wall now looked like a graveyard of drifting hulks. On the human ship, the crew stared in awe. "What kind of system is this?" one whispered. "Ancient," Elias said softly. "Older than anything they understand, built for one purpose only, to remind the galaxy what happens when they push too far." But the aliens still had numbers. Dozens of ships still glowed with full power, and Xylar was not ready to admit defeat. "Order the remaining fleet to attack at once," he thundered. "Crush them before more ships fall." The Armada roared to life. Dozens of beams lit up the void. Energy cannons, plasma missiles, burning lances of destruction, all fired at the single human ship. The black sea of stars turned into fire. The crew braced. The human vessel shuddered. But then, the red pulse inside the ship exploded into full power. A shimmering wave rippled across its hull. The beams that touched it bent away. The missiles dissolved into harmless dust. The void itself seemed to shield the ship. The aliens gasped. It absorbed the attack. No, it erased it. Xylar's voice shook with fury. "Impossible. Nothing can resist the combined fire of this fleet." But his words sounded hollow. Even he knew what he was seeing was beyond reason. The human ship moved, slowly at first, like a predator rising from its rest. Then faster, weaving through the alien formation with impossible grace. It did not fire. It did not need to. Wherever it passed, alien ships lost power. Their weapons went silent. Their engines failed. They became nothing more than cold wrecks drifting in the void. On the bridge of the human vessel, Elias finally gave a single command: "Target their flagship." The ship responded with a deep hum. Energy built up. The void trembled as if something enormous had awakened. A single beam of red light erupted from the vessel. It cut across the stars. It struck an alien battleship head-on, and in one instant, the mighty warship dissolved into dust. Not wreckage, not debris, dust, as if it had never existed. The Armada froze. Silence filled the comms. Even Xylar, proud and arrogant, stared in horror. What are they? He whispered. His officers, once mocking, now pale with fear. No one dared to laugh anymore. The humans had not begged. They had not surrendered. They had made the first move, and that move had shaken the galaxy. Captain Elias sat calmly, his voice low but heavy with finality. They wanted us to fear them, but now they will fear us. The crew exchanged glances. They knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy thought the humans were prey, but tonight, the hunters had revealed their claws, and as the void trembled with broken ships and shattered pride, every alien in the fleet realized the truth too late. Disaster had already struck. The hidden power, the void, was littered with silent giants. Alien warships drifted powerless, their lights dead, their weapons cold. Only the human vessel moved with purpose, its hull glowing faintly with a pulse that seemed alive. Grand Commander Xylar gripped the edge of his command chair. His claws dug deep into the metal. All around him, his fleet was collapsing. One ship after another had been reduced to useless husks, and now the humans turned their eyes on him. "This cannot be," he whispered. "No ship holds this kind of power." His officers exchanged nervous glances. For the first time, their mighty leader sounded afraid. Inside the human vessel, Captain Elias stood silent. The crew watched him with anxious eyes. They too were stunned by what their ship had unleashed. They had seen its power, but few understood the truth behind it. One young officer finally spoke. "Captain, what is this ship? It looks like a normal warship, but it is not. This technology, no one has ever seen it before." Elias turned slowly, his face calm, his voice quiet. This vessel was not built for war. Not at first, it was built as a test. A hidden design buried deep in Earth's vaults, created when humanity first looked at the stars and realized the galaxy would never accept us. The crew listened in silence. Elias continued, "Every empire in this galaxy laughed at humanity. They saw us as weak, fragile, but our leaders prepared for the day when laughter would turn into war. This ship is their answer, a weapon hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to strike outside." Another alien battleship dared to move closer. Its weapons glowed as it fired at the human vessel. The void lit up in a storm of plasma. But as the fire touched the hull, the human ship reacted. The red glow turned into a storm of rippling energy. The plasma beams bent, split, and then collapsed back onto the alien ship itself. The attacker was consumed in its own fire, exploding in silence, scattering burning fragments into the void. The crew gasped. The aliens screamed across open comms. "What is this weapon?" "Nothing can do that." "Nothing." But Elias remained calm. "This is not just a weapon, it is a warning. A reminder that humanity will never be caged." On the alien flagship, panic spread. Officers shouted for retreat. Others begged the commander to surrender. But Xylar's pride was a prison. He slammed his fist and roared, "No! We are the greatest armada in the galaxy. We will not fall to a single human ship. Attack with everything we have left." The remnants of the fleet obeyed. Dozens of ships powered their weapons, missiles, beams, kinetic cannons. Every form of destruction they carried was unleashed. The void turned into a storm of fire, all aimed at one lone vessel. The crew held their breath. The captain's face remained unmoved. And then the ship revealed even more. Panels along the hull opened. Strange patterns of red energy spread across its frame. The vessel did not block the attack this time. It absorbed it, every beam, every missile. Every strike vanished into the ship's skin. The hull glowed brighter and brighter, until it looked less like a machine and more like a star. The aliens froze in horror. Their weapons had only fed the monster. "Impossible!" Xylar cried. "They devour our fire." Then the ship answered. The absorbed energy exploded outward in a single pulse, a shockwave that rippled across the fleet. Alien ships were hurled back like toys in a storm. Some split apart instantly, others vanished in a flash of white. The mighty armada was broken in a heartbeat. The human crew stood in stunned silence. The ship had destroyed what should have been impossible to destroy. One officer whispered, "With this power, no one can stand against us." Elias looked at him with hard eyes. "This power is not for conquest, it is for survival. And if the galaxy forces our hand, then survival will be all that matters." On the alien flagship, systems flickered. Warning alarms screamed as the ship struggled to stay functional. Xylar's officers begged him, "Commander, we must retreat. We will be slaughtered if we stay." But Xylar shook with rage. His pride was broken, but his hatred burned hotter. "Send a message to the Council. Tell them humanity is a threat beyond measure. Tell them the war has only begun." The human vessel slowly turned toward the flagship, its hull glowing like a predator's eye. The message was clear. The hunt was not over. The real terror was only beginning. And as the void burned with the wreckage of a once mighty fleet, the galaxy's darkest fear was revealed. Humanity did not just survive the trap. Humanity had unleashed a hidden power, and nothing would ever be the same again. The shattered armada. The void was no longer silent. It was alive with burning wrecks and broken warships. Alien vessels that once stood proud now drifted as shattered metal. Their flames reflected against the stars like dying embers. But it was not over. The human ship moved slowly, its red glow brighter than ever. Like a predator circling the last survivors of the hunt, Grand Commander Xylar stared at the screen in disbelief. Half his fleet was gone, the other half crippled and falling apart. And yet one human vessel remained untouched, unbroken, unbent, unstoppable. This is not possible," Xylar growled. His officers no longer laughed. Their eyes trembled with fear. Some whispered of retreat. Others prayed silently to their gods, but Xylar's pride chained him. "We are the Empire's greatest armada. We will not bow to one ship of primitives." He gave the order. "All remaining ships converge on the human vessel, destroy it at any cost." The last of the alien fleet moved. Dozens of warships struggling to hold formation. Their engines roared, their weapons glowed. Together they formed a final storm of fire. Missiles streaked through the void. Plasma beams cut across the darkness. The combined fury of a galactic fleet slammed into the human vessel. But the ship did not fall. The storm vanished against its hull. The energy became part of it. The glow grew so bright it hurt the eyes to look at. Then with terrifying calm, the human ship answered. Panels along its spine opened. A soundless wave of power spread outward. It moved like a tide across the stars. Every alien ship it touched began to twist. Metal bent as if crushed by an invisible hand. Engines ripped apart, weapons exploded from within. One cruiser folded in half like paper. Another battleship tore apart piece by piece. Crew screams echoed across comm channels before silence claimed them. On the human bridge, the crew sat frozen. They had expected victory, but not this. Not the scale of destruction that now unfolded before them. Captain Elias remained still. His eyes locked on the chaos outside. "This is not battle," he whispered. "This is judgment." The alien fleet broke. Warships scattered in every direction. Some tried to flee. Others begged for mercy over comms. But there was no mercy in the storm. One officer on the human ship turned pale. "Captain, should we stop?" "They are running. They are broken." Elias shook his head slowly. "They chose this. They thought humanity weak. They thought us prey. Now they will remember us forever." The ship surged forward, faster than any alien sensor could track. It cut through the enemy ranks like a blade. Everywhere it passed, destruction followed. Alien commanders shouted desperate orders. Evasive maneuvers. "Divert all power to shields." But shields collapsed. Engines failed, and entire ships vanished into red fire. On the alien flagship, chaos ruled. Xylar's officers begged him again. "Commander, we must retreat. The fleet is lost." But Xylar's pride still burned. His voice cracked with fury. "No, I will not flee from these humans. If I must die, I will die fighting." The flagship turned toward the human vessel, its massive cannons charged with everything left. The void shook as the alien flagship unleashed its full power, a blinding storm of energy that could destroy a planet. The human ship did not dodge, it met the storm head-on. The weapons struck its hull, and for a brief moment, the void lit brighter than a star. When the light faded, the human ship still stood, its glow now fiercer than ever. Not damaged but awakened, then came the counter. The vessel released a single strike. A beam so pure and sharp it cut through space itself. It pierced the alien flagship from bow to stern. For one heartbeat, the ship remained whole. Then it split apart in silence, breaking into burning fragments that scattered into the endless void. The alien flagship, the pride of the Empire, was gone. Silence fell. The last survivors of the Armada powered down their weapons. Some shut off their engines, surrendering to the void. Others fled into the darkness, too broken to think of honor or victory. On the human bridge, the crew sat in awe. What had once been the greatest fleet in the galaxy was now nothing more than wreckage floating in space. Elias rose from his chair, his voice steady, cold. "Transmit this message to all channels." The comms officer nodded. Elias spoke. "Humanity will not be erased. Those who raise fleets against us will find only fire and silence. Remember this day. Remember the shattered Armada." The message spread through the stars, through survivors, through spies, through whispers, and soon, across the entire galaxy, humanity had turned the impossible into truth. One ship had destroyed an empire's pride. The galaxy would never forget. The final message, the stars were quiet again. The fire of battle had faded into drifting embers. All that remained of the once proud alien armada were ruins scattered across the void. Cold metal corpses drifting without life. The human vessel alone still moved, its hull glowing with the faint red pulse that had destroyed the fleet, like the heartbeat of some ancient beast, unstoppable, untouchable, on the alien flagship's remains. Emergency pods floated weakly. Survivors screamed into the comms for rescue. Others begged for mercy, but the human ship did not answer. It passed them in silence like a shadow watching from eternity. Grand Commander Zyler's last words still echoed in the galaxy's ears. "Humanity is a threat beyond measure. The war has only begun." Now those words spread faster than fire through dry grass, carried by terrified survivors and silent witnesses. Inside the human vessel, Captain Elias stood at the bridge window. He stared at the endless void, not with triumph, not with joy, but with a heavy calm. His crew whispered behind him. "Captain, the fleet is gone. We've done the impossible," Elias finally spoke. This was not victory, this was warning. The comms officer turned. "Sir, should we send a message to the galaxy?" Elias nodded slowly. "Yes, but not to the galaxy, to the Council, to every empire that mocked us. Let them hear it clearly." The officer tapped controls. The signal went out, across open frequencies, carried into every channel, a message that no one could block. Every world, every fleet, every council chamber would hear it. Captain Elias's voice filled the stars. Slow, steady, cold as steel. "You surrounded us, you thought we were prey. You laughed at humanity's weakness. And today you have seen the truth, one ship, one crew, and your greatest armada lies in ruins. Do not test us again, for this was only a glimpse of what humanity has prepared. Remember this day. Remember the shattered fleet. Remember that Earth does not kneel." The words echoed through the void, carried into the heart of empires, into palaces, fortresses, and council chambers. Leaders froze as the message reached them. Whispers filled every hall. If one ship could do this, what else do the humans hide? On distant worlds, alien civilians shivered at the news. Mothers pulled children close. Priests whispered that the hunters from Earth had awakened, and that the galaxy would never be safe again. On the human bridge, the crew sat in silence after the message ended. The air felt heavy. They knew their lives had changed forever. No longer were they explorers from a fragile world. They had become the nightmare the galaxy feared. One officer broke the silence. "Captain, what if the Council sends more fleets? What if they all unite against us?" Elias turned his eyes from the stars. His voice was steady but dark. "Then we will show them more." What they saw today was not even the beginning. The pulse in the ship's hull grew faint again. The glow dimmed until the vessel looked almost ordinary, like a predator going back into hiding. Waiting for the next strike, the human ship turned slowly, its engines igniting with quiet fire. It moved back toward the darkness, leaving behind wreckage, ruin, and fear across the galaxy. Leaders gathered in emergency meetings. Generals argued, priests prayed. Rulers trembled. Some demanded revenge, others whispered of surrender. But none could deny the truth. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage not as prey, but as predators, and the galaxy would never sleep peacefully again. The story of the battle spread like legend. Songs whispered in fear, tales told in shadows, of a single vessel that shattered an armada, and a captain whose voice turned the stars cold. At the edge of space, the human ship vanished into the void. But its echo remained, A final warning carried through the stars. Simple, unshakable, unforgettable, do not hunt us, for if you do, we will become the hunters and nothing you build will survive. The void closed again, silent, endless, but across the galaxy hearts trembled, because everyone now knew humanity's rise had begun, and nothing could stop it.